As it is stated in the Precious Garland of Madhyamika, it says that, in fact, Nagarjuna told the king, if you practice generosity and give an offering to your people often and practice beneficial actions to your people, then they would be very joyful. Which means this kind of action are just like the sugar. And if the king has to practice some wrathful or adapt some wrathful actions in order to help others, maybe it may appear to be tough. But because of the sweet actions that you've been doing to people, such as offering and such as generosity and beneficial actions, people would still consider you as a wonderful king, because you would combine the wrathful or tough actions as well as generous and kind actions to everyone. Just like some of our supervisors, some of the team leaders and so on, maybe some of them likes to criticize others, but they also practice generosity and they're very helpful to others and so on. Therefore, in general, they're still quite well liked. In our lifetime, we have all different kinds of experience and many different kinds of events would happen. So just like to form or to make a medicine pill, you should enjoy the bitter medicine, because the bitter medicine is beneficial to the illness. If the bitter medicine is beneficial to your illness, and therefore you should take it. If the critical words are difficult to listen, to be listened by your ears, but beneficial to you, then you should listen to it. I think that's what we usually say in our world as well. So sometimes maybe it seems to be tough, it seems to be cruel, it seems to be difficult to accept wholeheartedly, but from the bigger perspective, in the long term, it will be beneficial to you. Therefore, you should accept it, just like we should take surgery or do acupunctures to get a cure for your health, and you would still endure the temporary pain. For the same reason, the temporary suffering is difficult to endure. However, it may appear to be tough, but if you mix it together with the actual practice, the method of practice, then in the long run, the suffering won't harm you. Rather, it will be beneficial to you. I'm not sure if you've heard this kind of profound teachings before. Maybe it's a very new attempt, something really fresh for you. But just as I said, maybe at the beginning, it's just like how we first had a sip of coffee or tried the dark chocolate. You probably are not quite used to some elements, but eventually you get addicted. I remember that one of my relatives, when I took him to Chengdu and we had bitter melon in a Chengdu restaurant. He never had bitter melon before, and he tasted it and spit it out, and he said he hated it. But after a few years, he started really liking bitter melon. Just like that, because I think sometimes in life there are people who like the flavor of bitterness. Maybe at the beginning it doesn't taste good, but eventually you get more used to it and you started to taste more flavors in it. And eventually you probably stopped liking sweets. Anyhow, sweets are not very healthy. So just like that, that's the kind of practice we should adapt. We should joyfully uptake the suffering. Following this line, follow this line of thought over and over and very thoroughly and get used to the happy state of mind that it brings. So we should familiarize ourselves with this contemplation. I think majority of time, in fact, it is really our mind. If someone has a strong intention to practice or to strong intention of enjoying the bitterness, I think that person can definitely put that suffering or bitterness into practice. Just like the suffering, if you have strong faith of the Dharma, maybe at the beginning you will feel a little bit suffering in terms of your body or mind, but you can definitely accept it, even if it's something that is very difficult to endure for the mundane beings. I've read Master Nenghai's biography. I'm not sure if you've read it. I think it would be really great if you can read his biography. Lots of great masters, such as Master Nenghai and Master Fazun. They all wanted to study in Japan, but then there are some masters told them that in fact the Dharma in Japan is not as good as Tibet. There are so many translated sutras as well as pith instructions. And then Master Nenghai made the aspiration to study in the Tibetan plateau. Unlike now, at that time, Tibet is not very peaceful. There were so many conflicts, and due to different ethnic as well as political issue. And then he came to the Kham area after many difficulties. There was a great master around the age of 80 whom prostrated all the way from Lhasa to Mount Wutai. He has a great inner realization. And then at that time, he said, because of my age, I think it is best that if you can go to Lhasa. And it was quite a treacherous road to seek for the genuine Dharma. Unlike practitioners nowadays, they would say that, oh, it's so terrible, I don't have fresh water, I can't buy vegetable. It really is not a very happy or good situation, but really look at the past, the masters from the past. They would carry the tents and tsampa and lots of their belongings, and they would walk all the way. And then afterwards they reached Chengdu, which was already 2 months from then. They encountered wild animals and bandits, and they went into areas where even the Han people can't enter, had never even been to. So all sorts of things, but they, with the Dharma in mind, with their shoes all broken, they had to walk on thistles and thorns. So halfway through, I think maybe they are really quite trained, and they only took about a month from Chengdu to Lhasa. So altogether from Kham area to Lhasa, it took them 3 months to arrive. That was about 1928. They were quite discriminated at the time. In fact, they couldn't beg for alms, or they couldn't receive the genuine Dharma or pith instruction. I don't think they even received lots of Dharma at that time. They then went to India. So at that time, they received some teachings only on the second round, they received teachings mainly on Buddhist logic, as well as clear sutra of clear realization. So the reason of telling this story is if someone fell in love with the profound Dharma, with the profound teaching, then throughout the whole process, whatever and however painful it could be in terms of in terms of body and mind, I think they can still transcend that suffering. They can still use that suffering. That is the genuine love towards Mahayana Buddhism. So if you genuinely love esoteric teaching, in order to receive it, I think you can definitely have that kind of strength to go through whatever difficulties. Just like when a mundane being falls in love with someone, they don't mind to give up many things for them. It is for the same reason. So we should deeply and repeatedly to contemplate on the teachings within, to practice on the joyful mind to receive it.